皆さん、こんにちは。香川博です。ペンネーム、山楠洋二で、本も書いてますので、よろしくお願いします。さてと、今回のね、このビデオ、4回目になるんですね。実はね、スコット・ハースさんというボストンに住んでて、時にはスイスにの方と、いつも多くされてる、ね、心理学者、サイカイトリストでもあり、それからそういう社会活動をしながらも、トラベルライター、そして、いろんなところを旅行しながらね、そこの国のいろんな文化についても語ってくれる、非常に面白い方。彼がですね、今回ですね、自らの著作物とか、そういうことを作っていく背景の中で見たアメリカというものについて、いよいよね、最終の15分間。過去にすでに3つのビデオを公開してますね。15分ずつですのでね、これを合わせて最後のこの15分間入れるともう1時間になっちゃいますが、これ全部見ますとね、アメリカの社会のある意味で何が複雑なんだろう。どういう背景を持ってるんだろう。どうしてこの大統領選挙ってこんな風にね、変なことになっちゃったんだろう。人と人とが対立して譲り合わないようなね、社会になっちゃったんだろう。そして移民とは何だろう。アメリカ人にとっての移民とは何だろう。さらに、その移民が作ったアメリカの社会がどう変化していっているのだろう。そういうことについて、最終的にね、結論に入っていこうと思っています。最後の15分間です。ぜひ最初の3本も通してね、見ていただいて、この15分間の最後で、アメリカということについて、さらにこれからの展望ですよね。これについても、皆さんでも一緒に考えてみられればいいかなと思います。じゃあ始めます。
And so
I
what,
want to listen to it too from you more later.
but I mean, I think that's what we can do is, in other words, just because you listen to someone's story doesn't mean it's very Japanese, I think. Just because you listen to someone's story doesn't mean you agree with it. So that's important. So there's this problem, and somehow that has woven its way into the American psychology, which is people feel like it's not enough just to listen. You have to agree with me. So I don't think that's a very sensible way to do things. So in other words, if you're in a marriage, if you're married to somebody and your wife is saying to you something that absolutely makes no sense, it's like, you can't be serious. This is not really, you're not really saying that to me. So I've been married a long time, and it's so far so good. So I think I have learned, and I don't do this all the time, but sometimes I'm lucky. And the thing is to say, I'm hearing what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I'm not sure I agree with it, but I'm going to listen to it. I'm going to listen to it. I'm not going to explain to you what I think. I'm not going to contradict you. I'm not going to say my idea is better. I'm going to listen to what you're saying. I'm going to think about it. And let's talk about it when we're both more calm, when we're both ready to listen to each other. Right now, let's have something to eat. Let's take a walk. And so that's what I think needs to be more, that I think that we need to listen to one another. It's not complicated, but it's not easy. I mean, I follow a lot of Trump supporters on Twitter, a lot of them. And my wife doesn't, she gets, why are you listening to these people? They're crazy, or and I say, because I really want to know what they're thinking. I want to know what they're thinking, you know. I don't.
One thing which is like my assumption, tell me if it is wrong or right. I don't know whether it is wrong or right, but I want to have your opinions. Many, Trump supporter see Trump himself of the Jesus Christ.
I know, right?
Which is even contradictory interesting, is because from their point of view, JFK was the mission of the Jesus Christ from their point of view. It is strange, but why? Because so-called the QAnon theory or many things happened, right? The background is people wanted to have a help, like long time ago, your ancestors' time, like 2,000 years ago, I mean, Jewish people was tortured and depressed, oppressed by Roman Empire, whatever it is. Then they wanted to have a messiah, and some portion of the Jewish people followed Jesus Christ at that time. And
of course,
same way, this time in the United States, society is so segmented and so isolated each other. And the people are because American society is immigrant society, which means like people talk a lot, but not listen to so much. And then isolated, because they are not so talkative sometimes. They are shouting and emotionally shouting, but not talking as a theory or logic. And they are not good. So, and they feel they are oppressed, and they wanted to have a God, which is a Jesus Christ in the church, which they learned. Then, I mean, what kind of salvation from their point of view to touch my heart is maybe Trump is only one person who really touched my heart. Then, of course, it is logically wrong. However, JFK was a hero at that time who beat, Castro down and created the society better and a strong America was there before Vietnamese War. So,
right.
Also, even JFK was a veteran of World War II in the Pacific area. So, all such kind of connection contacted him as a so-called Jesus Christ theory, I thought in my mind.
I don't, it's interesting too, because of what you said earlier, which is that Trump is not a religious person. I mean, he doesn't attend church. You never, even before he became president, he never talked about the power of Christianity. He never talked about any of that. And ironically, Joe Biden, he's a practicing Catholic. He's a Catholic. I mean, he's a religious person. I mean, Obama also, he was spiritual. I mean, Obama was not that religious, but for sure he was spiritual. So I don't understand it. I really don't. I mean,
the difficult issue is even Hitler, and when he appeared from Austria, I believe that his background, of course, he himself does not believe God at all. However, he's a crazy person. Of course, he's a dictator and he did this world mess. However, at the beginning point of view, which is everybody seeking for kind of a strong God who save us. That is a really dangerous movement. Dangerous, very, very dangerous movement. And then, but on the other hand, it is desperate movement of the people longing for psychologically. So that desperate issue, we need to touch and hug and listen to.
That's right. That's exactly right. That it's the desperation that's the issue. The fact that people feel I think people feel really terrified. I think there's a lot of people who are very scared. And in these interviews that I do with these individuals who are suffering from mental illness, which I've been doing many years, there's an increase in anxiety, a lot more anxiety. And we all experience anxiety because we're humans. But the difference is that those of us who function okay, not 100%, but okay, we have strategies. So it could be taking a walk, it could be listening to music, it could be writing a letter, reading a book. And the people I meet can't, for some reasons, they can't do that. They cannot find a way to get away from this worrying. The worrying preoccupies them. They don't stop. It doesn't go away. And what helps it go away a little bit is psychiatric medication. A lot of people are smoking marijuana. A lot of people, which I don't think is the best solution. So but you're right. It's the desperation that's the issue. But it's very hard. It's very hard to talk to someone who feels desperate.
So that is a core kind of a so-called anxiety or core frustration that they have in their mind, and they wanted to depend on the so-called kind of salvation given by somebody, easy to listen to, and so if there are other figure, not Jesus Christ or anybody who can be quite good at that, anybody they can follow, but just this. Go ahead.
What's ironic or strange about Trump is that, so I've met a lot of sociopaths, people who are criminals. I mean, they're actual criminals. They've been in prison. I've met murderers, I've met rapists, I've met people who break into cars, break into houses, all kind. I've met them many years, over decades, 30, 40 years. The ones who are real sociopaths, as opposed to desperate who are just needing the money or because of drugs or alcohol, they don't experience anxiety the way other people do. They don't get quite as nervous. They're calm and cool. They don't get that excited. And Trump is like, maybe that's his appeal, because he doesn't seem anxious. If I'm having difficulty sleeping, or I'm worried about my rent, or my daughter answer my phone calls, I'm going to get worried.
Of course.
But Trump never seems worried.
Even after Viaduct, he's quite tough.
Right, but I think people like that. I think they like the fact that he acts angry, but you never see him sad. You never see him worried. And Biden sometimes looks sad. He talks about his son who died. He talks about his wife who died. He talks about his concern for the United States. He looks sad, and it's appropriate that he looks sad. Those are terrible things that happened to his son who died of cancer. His wife died in the car accident. You don't see Trump look sad. You don't see it. So, and he never looks worried. So I think maybe that's exciting. Maybe people find that reassuring. I find it disturbing. Because I think it's important, whether you're a leader or a follower, to at some point when it's appropriate to show feelings of sadness and fear. Not all the time, but sometimes. Like if you walk by somebody who's begging and she's holding a child, I will feel sad. You know what I mean? I don't think Trump feels sad. I don't think it bothers him. I don't think it bothers him that person is poor or their hand out. I don't mean that. There's lots of things you can do to solve that problem. Maybe it's her fault, maybe all kinds of things. But the feeling, not before I think, is I feel sad. He doesn't look like he ever feels sad. I think people find that, I think people find that reassuring.
Well, it is a kind of one of the typical, how can I say, so-called characteristics of a rich New Yorker's son. I can describe it from my experience.
Well, yes and no, because there's plenty of rich New Yorkers' sons who are not that way. So my uncle, my father's brother, was a commercial real estate developer in New York. He was the guy who managed the buildings. He set up the arrangements. He did not own any buildings. He owned percentages of buildings. He was never, but people who had a lot of money would want to buy things, so he would be the negotiant. He was a negotiant. So he knew Trump, and he knew people who knew him well. And what my uncle said about him was he was not liked in New York. He was not liked among the real estate guys. For two reasons. One was he was dishonest. They felt like when he said something, maybe he would follow up on it, maybe he wouldn't. You couldn't trust him. And the second thing was my uncle said he said he was leveraged. He was heavily leveraged. So that when he said he had these billions, the billions were in the buildings. And he was in debt to the banks owned the buildings. His name was on the buildings, but the actual owners of the buildings were the banks. So he said in the community of real estate owners and developers, they didn't respect that because they actually owned the buildings. They had paid off their loans. This building belongs to you, belongs to me, et cetera, et cetera. Trump never really owned any of the property with his names on it. So they thought he was kind of a phony kind of guy. So there, in other words, what I'm trying to say is there's rich, honest people. I mean, I've met them, I know them, and some of them are nice and some of them are not nice, but Trump's not honest. He's not honest.
I understand. Yeah, okay.
And it's disappointing because all of us have met rich people they seem like some of them are nice, some, as I say, some nice, some not, but many of them are pretty honest people, I mean, they pay their taxes, they do the best they can, they don't lie a lot. A little bit maybe, but not a lot.
Well, thank you, Scott, for your time or 1 hour already.
Thank you.
But of course, it is not solved yet. All conversation need to be continued, particularly your book, when it is published. And now I put it in a translator. Then, it is like a reading the air is also kind of related with how to read the people's air and the kind of feeling.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So let's talk about this issue more.
Right.
Yeah,
right. That's right.
That's right. More. And also, I would like to know about current kind of Israel and politics with the United States, that kind of things. Maybe we need to have another interview time in future.
I would love to do that. You are an extraordinarily good interviewer. You make me feel very relaxed. So you're.
Thank you. As you know, to do that. So we work together.
I know that, but you're highly skilled, as you know, so I appreciate it. You make me feel very comfortable.
I appreciate
you make me feel like no matter what I say, even if you don't agree or even if it sounds wrong, I feel like confident in saying what I think. I don't dress it up.
Basically, we're in the same boat. Don't worry.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, well, sleep well and have a good trip back.
Thank you very much for your time and have a nice, not weekend, but a nice week. Anyway.
I will try. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. See you in Tokyo, maybe.
I hope so soon.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.